So today I knocked two films off of the nominated for Best Picture list. I think I'm at 52 left out of the entire 600 nominated films. Two of them were shown last week on TCM before 31 Days of Oscar, so I finally crossed them off my list. One of them I absolutely loved, and I can't believe it took me so long to watch it. The other one was a bit of a slog, and I'm glad that I've now seen it and don't have to revisit it. So the one I really enjoyed was 1934's The Barretts of Wimpole Street, directed by Sidney Franklin. Franklin would later remake this film in color with Jennifer Jones in 1954. In this version, it's Norma Shearer, Fredric March, and Charles Laughton that are the stars, and it is about the real-life courtship of poets Elizabeth Barrett and Robert Browning. And I never knew that this was such a messed up story. I had no idea what I was getting into. So apparently, Barrett was the oldest of 9 children. Her mother had died. Her father was a bit nutty and basically forbade all 9 of his children to get married. Barrett was, Elizabeth was sort of sickly, maybe had tuberculosis, they're not really sure. They don't really explain in the film, and has mostly stayed upstairs for years, writing her poems, getting them published, and corresponding with her biggest fan, Robert Browning. One day, he shows up, tells her that when he said he loved her in that first letter he wrote to her, which is verbatim from the real letter that he wrote to her, that he meant it and that he wants to marry her. She knows that she can't marry because her father is really strange, and you see really horrible emotional violence inflicted on these children, including at one point when the doctors tell Norma's character that she can start drinking milk instead of I don't know what it was, port wine or something awful. He forces her to drink it, and then in the last minute tells her she doesn't have to. And then when she says she's going to drink it, he says, I want you to drink it because you love me, not because I scared you into drinking it. And you're like, there's some issues here. Also, her sister, youngest sister, Henrietta, has fallen in love with a soldier. She's played by Maureen O'Sullivan. And this soldier has done so much to try to be impressive so that he can marry her, but she knows that her father's never going to relent. So finally, history spoiler, Norma Shearer's character, Elizabeth, she gets well enough that she's able to go summer in Italy, and basically writes a letter saying, peace out, brah, I'm going to go marry this man and we're going to live in Italy. And she takes her and this is based on what really happened. She takes her maid with her, she takes her dog with her, and off she goes. And then the family finds this letter, and the dad just loses it and decides he's going to have the dog put down. And then the sisters are like, she took the dog, deal with it. And you're like, oh shit. And that's the story. And it's so freaking weird. And Laughton famously said that they can, censor the story all they want, but he's going to make, it a little leery, like he's sort of incestuously protective of these kids. And it's really creepy. And, this is 1934, so it's like right after the production code went into full force. But to Laughton's point, he said, let me find the quote, it's delicious. He said, they can censor it all they like, but they can't censor the gleam out of my eye. And you're like, apparently, also, Virginia Woolf wrote an autobiography or a biography of Elizabeth Barrett from the perspective of her dog Flush, and I need to track that down immediately and read it. So I'm wondering if the 50s version with Jennifer Jones, there's no way it can be as weird as this version, but I also really want to see a modern take on this story, because I feel like it's so rife with feminist issues, and just its look at emotional violence is very timely. So anyway, someone remake. It's based on a play, but I'm sure you could, just make a version that's not based on the play if you needed to. I'm interested to see the Jennifer Jones version and just see. It's 1957, so I don't know. Okay, the other film I watched, I'm not going to talk about very much because I really didn't care for it, and this is Henry Hathaway's The Lives of a Bengal Lancer from 1935. It stars Gary Cooper and Franchot, and it's based on an autobiography of Francis Yeats Brown from when he was in, India. And it's very much about yay colonialism, yay, imperialism. And there's a lot of these adventure films starting, in the teens and 20s silent era and leading their way into the 30s. And they're all so tone deaf and gross. And this one was both tone deaf, gross, and boring. So it had like nothing going for it. At least, Gunga Din can be a little, but at least it's a fun film. This one was not even fun to watch. It was just boring and so paternalistic towards the country and just not great. So I can't really recommend it other than if you're trying to knock off all the Best Picture nominees. And I feel like there was one other thing I wanted to mention about it. Oh, I do want to say that I don't judge Henry Hathaway as a director based on this film. He has much better films, especially the noir he did for Fox in the 40s. Watch those films. They are much better. This does have some other Oscar trivia attached to it. It won Best Assistant Director. That was a category that only existed for a handful of years. But really, I just can't recommend this film. It wasn't great. But Barretts of Wimpole Street, seek that one out. I think it's on DVD from Warner Archive Collection. It's just a fantastic film, and you should try to watch it. So this was Barretts of Wimpole Street, 1934, The Lives of a Bengal Lancer, 1935. Slowly but surely, I will watch all of the Oscar nominees for Best Picture, and then I can check that off my list of things to do in life.